and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to work Tunisian crochet ribbing. This stitch incorporates two different stitches together, the Tunisian knit stitch and the Tunisian purl stitch. And you're working that in a pattern to create this ribbed look. You can create Tunisian ribbing with any multiples of these stitches. What I will be showing you today is working one purl stitch, then two knit stitches, and working that all the way down your row. You can go ahead and create any repeat that you would like. So for example, you could have two purl, then two knit, two purl, two knit. You could do three purl, three knit, one purl, three knit. So basically whatever you want for your ribbing, you would just change up the number of stitches that you would do for your pattern. For the ribbing that I'm doing today, if you want to change up the size of your pattern, you will need to work your foundation row in multiples of 3 plus 2 for that foundation row. So make sure and adjust if you're changing that stitch pattern to adjust those multiples for your foundation. Tunisian ribbing is not quite as stretchy as what you would get with regular or standard crochet ribbing. There is some stretch to it, but not nearly what you would experience with standard crochet. So this would work great for projects where you don't need a lot of give. I think this would look fantastic as a modern edging for a blanket on both sides, which would also help stitches that are curling as well. So for today's tutorial, I am using Red Heart Chic Sheep yarn in suede, and I'm also using a Tunisian crochet hook size J or a 6.0 millimeter hook. Let's go ahead and get started. So I worked a standard foundation row before I begin my pattern. And if you are interested in learning how to work that foundation row, you can check out my tutorial for the Tunisian knit stitch, which details on how to work that foundation row. For row 2, we're going to begin our pattern, and the loop that's on my hook counts as my first stitch. So I'm not going to be working in that first bar that you see there. I'm going to be working in that second bar. I'm going to be working a pattern of one purl and then two knit stitches. One purl, two knit stitches. So I'm going to be, for my first stitch, working one purl stitch. And the purl stitch is where you bring your yarn forward in front of your hook before you insert it into that vertical bar from the right side to the left side, yarn over, and pull through that loop and leave that loop on your hook. Now I'm going to be working two knit stitches. And a knit stitch is where we insert our hook into that vertical bar to the back of our work. So we're working in between the front bar and the back bar, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Another knit stitch, inserting our hook behind that vertical bar to the back of our work, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Now I'm going to be working another purl stitch. So bring that yarn forward, insert our hook into that vertical bar, hold that yarn down while I yarn over and pull up a loop. Two knit stitches, inserting our hook behind that vertical bar, through, yarn over, pull up a loop, another knit stitch, one purl stitch, bring that yarn forward, insert our hook behind that vertical bar, yarn over, and pull through. And you're just going to be repeating that same pattern of two knit stitches and one purl until we get to the end of the row. So I'm at the end of the row. I worked 2 knit stitches here at the end, and now I'm in my last stitch, and I'm going to work this a little differently. I'm going to be inserting my hook behind that bar, but I'm going to be picking up both loops. So you can see here there's 2 loops on my hook, and then yarn over and pull up a loop, and that will create a nice edge that will match the edge over on the other side. So now I'm ready for my return pass, which will be the same as normal, yarning over, pulling through 1 loop only, and then yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2, and repeating that all the way down the row until we have just 1 loop left on our hook. Once you have 1 loop on your hook, which will be the first stitch for row 3, we're going to take a look here, and if you look at this closely, you can see your stitch pattern, the difference between the 2 stitches. So you can see here that I have a purl, and that has that little bar across the front, and then 2 knit stitches, these 2 vertical bars, and then a purl stitch has that bar right there in front of that vertical bar. So you can see I have 2, 1, 2, 1. You can clearly see the difference between the 2 stitches. So to move on for row 3, we're going to be repeating what we just did for row 2. We're going to be keeping a purl stitch above a purl stitch. So again, that next stitch, we're going to be working a purl by bringing our yarn forward, inserting our hook into that bar, keeping that yarn in front of that loop, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Then 2 knit stitches, inserting our hook into that vertical bar, pushing back to the back of our work, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Another knit stitch, inserting our hook between the vertical bars, yarning over and pulling up a loop. And we're just going to be repeating that same sequence, so that means over our knit stitches we'll be working knit stitches, over our purl stitches we'll be working a purl stitch, and that's going to create that ribbed look. And that's a purl and then 2 knit, and repeating that on down our row. And again, my final 2 stitches were knit stitches, and now I'm in the last stitch here, and we're going to insert our hook in the same place as before in that last stitch behind that vertical bar, picking up both of those end loops, yarning over and pulling up a loop. And then we work our return pass in the same manner, yarning over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat that, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 until you have 1 loop left on your hook. So with 1 loop remaining on my hook, I've completed row 3, and you can see this ribbing is starting to take shape. There are my knit stitches with purls in between. Knit stitches here, purls in between. So you're just going to continue working row 2 to the desired size. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thank you so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like my videos, the best way to support me is to like, share, and subscribe. Take care, everyone. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.